Good morning, YouTube. This is your girl Alex coming to you. Today's video topic that I want to cover is discussing what is my credit score and what did I do to get it and maintain it. And so before I get started, one thing. So I've seen a couple comments regarding, oh, you're bragging, boasting. So to those comments, my question is, do you want someone teaching you how to make $1 million that hasn't made $1 million themselves? I will argue that the answer is no. And so when I'm coming to you with information, it's because I've done it, I've seen it work, as opposed to giving you hypothetical and theoretical ideas of what works and what's functional. I'm telling you play by play how this works, how I did it, how I managed to do it. So off of the soapbox, back to the topic. So today we're going to be talking about my credit score. I got some questions like, what does your personal credit look like? And so I'm going to cover that. And I'm going to tell you how I was able to get an accurate credit score. And then I'm going to also cover some of the ways that you can work on also increasing your credit score. And so let's get down to it. So I have my paperwork here. And so the reason why I was able to get access to an accurate credit score, I'll say accurate because I know people use Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, Credit whoever to get a credit score. And then oftentimes when they go to actually run their credit for something, they're not approved under the premise that they're like, oh, but my credit's good based on these sources. I will tell you that these third-party sources, they oftentimes give you a different credit score because they're using a different type of credit score. There are a number of different type of credit scores that lenders use, these free services use, and they're calculated differently. And so that is why you will sometimes see a disparity between, not sometimes, literally almost always, a disparity between a Credit Karma and when you pull your credit and they tell you that it's not that, is because if you want the closest thing as far as accuracy, two ways to go about doing that. Sign up directly with the reporting bureau, and sometimes that has a monthly fee. If it's not of heightened importance, I don't necessarily encourage paying the monthly fee. If you're doing all these things that we're going to talk about, your credit score should be in a good situation where you don't really have to monitor it and know the score per se. You can see your activity and everything and know that if something's fraudulent or something's you, or see a good payment history, those things are good that you can monitor anywhere. But the score is not that important for you to know every month. I guess I'll say that. And so just tread lightly when you're looking at these third parties that, offer, some offer the FICO 8 versus just a regular FICO. And they're calculated different. And some of them might be out of 850 and some might be out of 900 or 950. So keep those things in consideration when you're looking at your credit score with these different entities and why it may be different from when you're actually applying for something. So there's that. So what I did was I'm actually in the process of purchasing a home. And so with that, in many states, you are entitled to receive a copy of the credit scores that they used in your consideration. And I didn't request it. They just sent it directly to me from Navy Federal. They sent me a little letter that I have right here. It breaks down a lot of different categories, what your score was, understanding your credit score. And then there's a second page for how to check your credit score, compare it to other people, a lot of different things. And so they sent me this in the mail, and it's effective as of March the 3rd, 2021, is when they check my scores, and we'll go through it. So TransUnion credit score, 811. Experian credit score, 829. Equifax credit score, 778. Now, I honestly, so Credit Karma reports TransUnion and Equifax, I think, right? Equifax. My scores are always lower, typically, on Credit Karma. So I didn't know my scores, prior to me getting this information. I knew they were in the very good, but I didn't know what they were exactly. And so I'll show you this so you can see it. So it tells you one by one, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. It tells you your scores, and it says the actual reporting agency that generated those scores. And on the second page, like I said, it tells you some factors that played into those scores. So, y'all, I don't spend a lot of time on video editing. I'm sure there was a better way I could do this, but I just want you to know that I'm actually looking at paperwork, and I'm actually, like, you know, legitimately telling you what I have in front of me. But yeah, anyway. So with that, I want to go through a couple things that they identified in terms of key factors that adversely affect your credit score. And so this one's related to Equifax. So they went actually by each bureau, key factors for each bureau. With Equifax, I think I told you all in a previous video that Equifax is a tough cookie. I've gotten a lot of inquiries removed from Experian and TransUnion, but Equifax does not budge. And so the first criticism that they have here is too many inquiries in the last 12 months. Okay, I knew that. It says time since most recent account opening is too short. And of course, short is relative. So my last actual personal account that was open, I think, was August of 2020. So less than 12 months. So maybe that's what they're looking at. And then too many consumer finance company accounts, consumer finance, like credit cards. And then too many accounts with balances. That I knew too. And that is what I'm going to cover when I say how you get there. And so for Experian, too many accounts with balances, same thing I'm going to cover. Number of accounts open in the last 12 months, same thing. Key factors for TransUnion, time since most recent account opening is too short, same thing as me saying I have an account that I just opened in August of 2020. Length of time revolving accounts have been established. I'm going to cover that as well. And then too many accounts with balances, same thing. Length of time accounts have been established, which is almost the exact same thing of length of time of revolving accounts. So they're just giving you like some little generic stuff to let you know how they, what could be better. Constructive criticism, we'll call it that. And so let's get down to it. So how did I get my credit score? So regulated spending is the first thing I'm going to cover. So on there, when I see that too many cards have balances, I don't care. I don't care about that, because I'll tell you my technique for life. So I focus primarily on reward credit cards, basically credit cards that give me money for spending money. That's it. Like I told you, I'm not about spending money, I'm about making it. And so I focus on credit cards that have a reward-based credit cards. And so when I say regulated spending, I mean, I use my credit cards for everything. If they take a credit card and don't charge me to take a credit card, I'm using it for that. I don't even carry my debit card because, again, you know, that comes into, you know, fraud and security, which I can talk about a little bit more on a different note. But working in banking, I've seen debit card fraud way too much to where I'm just like, cut that thing up. So regulated spending, I use my credit card for every single purchase that I'm allowed to use it on. But what do I do? What does that mean? Does that mean that I'm just, you know, out here swiping? Absolutely not. I'm using it for bills, things I'm going to pay anyway, things I have the money for that I'm going to pay anyway. So what I do is I use my credit card, swipe, you know, let's see what my cell phone bill, you know, I don't use it for utilities because they like to charge you a fee. Like my energy bill, they want to charge you a fee to use your credit card. So then I just pay them cash. You know, rent and things like that, they also charge a fee. But there are plenty of things that you still, like your Netflix and all that stuff. And of course, with those type of things, they want a card regardless. But you can still use a credit card as opposed to a debit card, where you're not really accruing the benefits that you would for a credit card. So in one of my last videos, the personal credit card accounts, I talked about, you know, some of those different credit cards that offer, you know, 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever. And so whatever that monthly bill is, so say for instance, we're talking about my cell phone bill. I think my cell phone bill may be $100, maybe. But I have it on auto pay. And so for the card that offers, you know, 3%, again, 3% every month. And granted, that's not a ton of money. No, it's not. But the whole point is that you're going to be paying your cell phone bill until the end of time anyway. So that 3% is going to add up. And so you have to look at the value added like that. You have to look big picture. So you call that macro scale instead of micro scale. Because if you look at it micro scale, you're like, that's not really worth it, you know. But that's everything cumulatively adds value. So for me, I look at regulated spending as a very important part of for me building my credit, is because on there they'll tell me too many accounts with balances, whatever, I pay it off every month. So another thing is I'm never paying interest. That's why I don't care what the APR is on credit cards. The 0% starting off is great. You can take advantage of that, not pay it off every month. But over and beyond that, I don't care what the APR is, because I'm not paying y'all any money anyway. So if you're paying it off every month within that 31 day statement cycle, and I call it a grace period, because they're giving you grace for 30 days. They're saying, here, borrow our money for 30 days. And as long as you pay us back within 30 days, we don't charge you, girl. And so that is a big part of my emphasis, is that I don't care. I don't focus on using a credit card. Some people think credit cards are bad. They are not. It's not a subjective thing. They're not bad. It comes down to the next thing, which I'm going to talk about, is discipline. So all these things tie in together. When you're regulating your spending, and when you're spending within your budget of things that you plan on spending anyway, and then you're paying it off and not going over and beyond that, and you're exhibiting discipline in doing so, that's all a win for your credit. Because then you're going to show on your credit report, when you're talking about credit cards, you're going to see green little check marks: paid every month, paid every month, paid every month, paid every month. Versus a card that you have and you have a zero balance on it, it's just gonna be grayed out. It's not gonna be red, it's not gonna be green, it's just gonna be gray. Basically saying that it wasn't being utilized. So one thing creditors like to see is that you are managing your debt. It's debt, but not really, because if you have the money to pay for it and you're paying for it, it's only debt for 20-30 days, and then you're turning it over to where it's not debt anymore. And so discipline is going to be a big part of it, and it's been a big part of it for me. I got my first credit card when I was 18. It was the Bank of America card I told you all about. And even then, that was probably the most difficult time to exhibit discipline and that consistency, because, being in college and, not making a whole lot of money, even, working and things like that, it is very difficult. But when you have your set of bills and you have your income, you want to make sure you have that space in between. You don't want your bills to meet your income. You never want that. But you want your bills to be less than your income. And so you have that space in between. So therefore, leaving that space for you to be able to consistently pay off your credit cards every month. And that's a win, because look, you just got free money from regulating your spending and getting those reward points off the credit card. Free money. And then, going forward, you're not compromising, using your debit card or attaching things directly to your account, which tons of fraud there too. I think I have PTSD from from debit card fraud. And then also you talk about exhibiting discipline and consistency. And so the next thing that has been super important in building my credit has been longevity. Now this is the one that I'm going to tell you every single time. You can't change time. Time is what it is. But the important part about time is you can start today. And so starting today starts that time that benefits you when it comes to just having the history and having the longevity with a lender to say, okay, they've been reliable for the last 5 years, the last 2 years, the last 12 months. All of it adds up. It adds up. But the thing that you don't want to do is wait 5 years and then you've lost that time. You can't get it back. And all they see is, they've had that for 2 months. We don't know. We'll fill it out. We'll wait. And so what you want to do is make sure that, when it comes to discipline and consistency, it's a long game. It's not about doing it for a couple months and oh, yeah, and then missing a payment. Oh, no big deal. Because that red on your credit report, when you go view your credit report, that red stands out. Even to the naked eye, you can just be scrolling through. That red is going to stand out. Oh, what happened right here? And so what you don't want to do is, if you have a good payment history going, you don't want to create any negative marks on that could make you be viewed as a liability. Okay? And so when we're talking about getting, maintaining and growing our credit, we're looking at regulating our spending. we're looking at discipline, we're looking at consistency, and we're looking at longevity. And then the next step is going to be, going out and applying for some lending products. Don't get lending happy. Don't just get over here and start clicking accept, and letting anybody run your credit. No, that's not what we want. But make educated decisions about where you want to apply. And, one here, one there, not bad. Inquiries are what they are. They're going to have an impact on your credit, but it's only going to be a minimal impact. And that impact, over time is going to be less and less. And so, I know sometimes I get super anal myself about inquiries, but it's a necessary part of obtaining credit. And so the biggest thing is making sure you do your research. You can watch some of the videos that I posted for personal credit cards and business credit cards to kind of look and see what's out there and make compare apples to apples before you make a decision and take that leap and get that inquiry on your credit report. So those are the big things as far as how to go about doing it. And so thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, please hit me up. Like, share, subscribe. I look forward to talking to you soon. Peace.